Okay, we're up to Lamed Tes Amid Aleph. We're discussing Hallel. Again, Hallel is very important to note, fellas. You should all. Hallel is Perik Yud Ches, Kuf Yud Ches in Tehillim. Kuf Yud Ches begins with Hodu Lashem Kitov Kilom Chazdov. It ends with Hodu Lashem Kitov Chazdov. It begins with Hodu. It ends with Hodu. Then it says Yomun Na Beis Aaron, Yomun No Yir Hashem. Then Mina Meitzar, and then it says Odcha Hashem, which is not doubled. Then it says Ana Hashem, which is not doubled. Ana Hashem Etzlichno, which is not doubled. And then it concludes. Okay, so now in the involvement of this Tana, the pasuk says Makom Shenogul Lichbol, in a place where the minig is to double the psukim. Right? So Tana Rav, Kaifel Ba Devarim. You will be Kaifel Devarim. Why were you Kaifel? From Ana Hashem Ashiana, Ana Hashem Ashiana, Baruch Haba B'Shem Hashem, Al Isulam Al Kanas HaMizbeach. Those from on you double. Rabbi Elazar ben Parta Moisif Ba, he in addition agrees, Rabbi Elazar ben Parta agrees that what? Moisif Ba Devarim. Ma Moisif, Amar Abaye, Moisif Lichmo Mei Oidecha Ulamata. He goes back from before An Hashem Shiana. He goes to An Hashem, Meis Hashem, Hoisezos. He doubles before that. So he was Moisif on the kfelis, on the doubling what of that. This is time for another shmooze. The Eidecha was the whole shir I gave on David HaMelech, where David was found out his true identity, right? Where he was brought in front of Yishai with Shmuel. That's for another day. It was already, but that's for another day. Rabbi. Now it says Levarech Yivarech, the place where you know to make a bracha, you make a bracha. Now we all make a bracha, Asher Kiddushan Mitzvos Tzvano Likro as a Hallel. That's not what we're discussing. We're speaking about the end of Hallel, right? Melech Mu'ula Batish B'chais, we make a bracha. That we're speaking about, and our minig is to make the bracha. So Rabbi Eloi Shanu, this minig of making the bracha, Elul Achorav, the bracha that's after Hallel. Avol Lefon of the bracha that's before Hallel. Mitzvah levarech. It's mitzvah to make a bracha, as we're about to see. Dam Rav Yehuda Shmuel, kol mitzvah, all the mitzvahs in the Torah, kulim mevarchen aleim oivel asiyasan. You make a bracha before their performance. Many places in Shas and Pesachim, a few places Menachos, Megillah, Nida, a few places where they go ahead and discuss this. My mashma, how do you know oivel asiyasan means before? How do you know it's the lashon of being makdim? It says vayoretz achimaatz. This is you're running to inform David that Avshalom had been killed. So Achimas went derech hakika. He went the way of the plains. Vayavra is a kushi, and he pierced the kushi. In other words, he took a shortcut. So vayavra is the lashon of koidim. He came before the kushi. So you see that the lashon of ovar means to come before. Abaya Omar, a second source of coming before, it says Mehacha. Fu oivel lefneihem. It says by Yaakov Avinu, when he prayed by Esav, and he made up for Esav, he passed in front of them. Avar meaning lashon from before. V'bois ema, third pshat Mehacha. By Yavam Malcolm lefneihem, by Hashem beroisham. The Malcolm came first, and Hashem was at the head. So the lashon of Vayavam means came first. So you see that what three pshatim that Vayav is the lashon of what Avar Lisyasa means before. So again, all the minig of Hallel is based upon this minig. Very important to know. Kuf Yud Ches. Take a look at it. You'll see all of Hallel there, and you'll see what it means to be machbil. How we go ahead and double down, and how we go ahead and keep things straight. Okay. As the Derech HaKamat Mishnah, we know a person is a Shemitah year that a person is supposed to be mafki his fruits. He's not supposed to go ahead and do business with his fruits. If he sells his fruits, the money that he gets from the fruit, he gets kedusha Shemitah. That's kedusha. Then you have to use it. You can't do business with it. You have to eat it. You have to eat that shemitah food. It's for the purpose of eating, and not for what? For business purposes. Let's say a person is purchasing a set, a daled minim from an Amma Aretz, and he gets it's a shemitah year, and he's getting an esrog. What's the din? What does he do? If it was a regular person, we're chayshid that person is not doing business with it. But if it's an Amma Aretz, we have to be chayshid. So what does he do? And that's the discussion. Exactly what do you do in a shemitah year when you purchase what the esrog from an Amma Aretz? Says the Mishnah. Someone purchased a lulav from his chaver, b'shvius, noisonly esrog b'matana. You ask the person. Now Rashi clearly says this chaveru is an amma aretz. That's choshen, right? Let's take a look at Rashi quickly. Don't change the gersa. It doesn't mean a person means an amma aretz. The amma aretz kamai. We're speaking about aretz kedaminan b'gemara. Amma aretz the gabe chaver loy kari le chaveroi. Now amma aretz to a person who has the status of a chaver, a person who's makbid in halacha, is not called a chaver. V'ilakech nami amma aretz mitzay salon lahachse chaveroi b'choshet. And ilakech nami amma aretz. Will you go ahead and listen to Machz's chaver that is kosher? Okay, so anyway, so what does it say? Alakech lulu mechaver b'shvius, noisnei esrig matan l'fishin rishol loch b'shvius. Take the say to the Amoritz, listen, you wanted here's $100. Give me the esrig as a matana. Give me the esrig as a matana. Okay, because again, I don't want the money to get kedusha shmita. You're going to have a problem then because now you're going to have your possession, you're going to have money that is kedusha shmita. I don't know what you're going to do with it. You're going to do business with it. If you buy anything else, you get a manifestation. The kedusha of that money goes into that fruit. So it begins a whole possible process of problems. So therefore, to remove it, give it to me as a matana, and therefore you won't have a problem. Says the Gemara, what the obvious? What happens if he doesn't want to give him the shmita fruit as a matana? So Rav Huna, what do you do? Mavliya le demei esrig beluliv. Your mavliya, what's called havla, you swallow up the worth of the esrig in a lulav. Simply speaking, let's say you're buying a set for $100. You're spending, the lulav is costing you $50 and the esrig is costing you $50. So you say, I'll give you $100 for the lulav. In other words, you don't give any money for the esrig. The Amoritz is getting the same amount of money. He doesn't care what you call it. To him, it's a matter of semantics. The bottom line, he's getting $100. He doesn't care if it's 50 for the lulav, 50 for the esrig. And that's havla, you're swallowing up the worth of the esrig in the lulav. And therefore, we avert that problem. What's the problem of giving it to him, buying it from him? What's the problem? What are you worried about? It says, we don't give money of Paris to Shvius Lama Aretz. The Tanya, a Meister the Paris Shvius Lama Aretz, right? We don't give. Okay, so the Gemara says.
Can I just ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
Lulav is not part of Shemitah, only
okay, the Gemara is going to ask that question, Mayor. Very good. The Gemara is going to ask that question. Hang in there. The Gemara is going to ask that question.
It was actually my wife who asked, not me.
Okay, please tell your wife to start coming to share. We'll open up the ladies section.
Okay.
Okay, so the Gemara wants to know, why don't you just go ahead? What are you worried about? Just give it to him. Instead of the havla, purchase it outright. It says, you don't give perish shvius lamaretz. The Tanya, you don't do that. More than shalish sudas. You know, look at Rashi. It's for Hilchah Shabbos. He needs it for shalish sudas for Shabbos, right? The kima shehut ber Shabbos hutal cholim eser Shabbos. Since it's mutter for Shabbos to give him 3 sudas, we'll give him 3 sudas. In other words, so give him money, he'll buy 3 sudas, it'll get used up, and fartik, and there's nothing to worry about. However, the masar, you're not supposed to do it. The masar, if you do it, you forget and you give it to him. Yoimar hari malos halalu yimuchalol and aperish yesh lebitat basic. So let's say I do that. I'm not supposed to give money to Namaretz for the esrei. And I give him, it's going to cost him Shabbos 3 sudas, it's going to cost him $100. I give it to him $100. I go ahead then and I take the Paris, that wherever they are, I take that Kedusha and I put it on, I put the money, the Kedusha and that money on Paris in my house. In other words, I don't want this as an obstacle. If this gets out there in the market, the money, anything that money is bought with gets Kedusha Shemitah, and you're not allowed to do business with it. So to avoid that, mistakenly, I'm only giving Moshe Sudas. That I can give him. But if I forget and I do give him more than that, so it's my problem, I then have to go ahead, say whatever Kedusha is on that money should now be on the Paris in my house, and now I will treat the Paris in my house with the Kedusha of what? Of Shemitah. Amid base. And now you'll go ahead and the Paris that is in my house, I'll leave it Kedusha Shvias. And when is all this halacha stated with this kula that I'm able to give him money for Shalosh Shudos is B'Lokech min Amufkar. That the Amaretz, what did he do? He was mafkir his field. That's the halacha, you mafkir your field. Then he took from Hefker, he took the field, Paris, and he's going ahead and he's selling me an esrog set. But he's not been at choishe that this guy is doing business with other stuff. This guy is not keeping Shemitah. He's got a lock and key on his field, and it says verboten, do not, anyone entering will be shot. And then in that case, I feel it could be chatzi iser aser, even to give him even a chatzi iser, a limited denomination. A limited denomination. It said pause. It said pause. Yeah. Okay. So if it's this guy, you see that he's mamish keeping, he's untrustworthy. Linear that you can't even give him anything, right? Masav Sheshus umin amufka gimel sudas v'suloi, and min amufka si sudas anat uriminu. Now, there's a bunch of grasses over here. All they have in common is that they have weird art scroll names. First of all, weird art scrolls names that you never heard about, but they're all things that a person's mafker. And nonetheless, he's able, mashma can give even more than 3 sudas. That's going to be the kasha. Okay? So here's some of the really, really interesting names. Master of Sheshes, when a mifka shalosh sudas suloi, when a mifka only 3 sudas from a minu, hapegom v'hayar buzin, rue and sorrel, v'hashitim v'chaglaglois, asparagus and purslane, v'aboisa shebahorim v'charkum shebenahoris, mountain coriander and rivercress, v'agargo shel hefker and meadow rocket. Okay, very good. You want to repeat that, anybody? I didn't think so. V'turim in amaisa. All these things are pata from maisa because they're hefker. They're all pata from maisa. V'nikachem, guys, here's the key. V'nikachem mikol odem b'shvias. And they can be purchased by anyone during the Shemitah year. Now, it doesn't say they can be purchased for up to 3 sudas. It says they can be purchased, period. So that's the kasha. How can you tell me the Shemitah year you're able to go ahead and sell something for 3 sudas? If it's min mufkar, you could see it's even more than 3 sudas. If you're saying kiyotze ben nishmar, so who moisav lo mufarik lo, he Rav Sheshes asked the question and he answered it. Bichtei mon shanu. The lesson mon means of given for sustenance. And sustenance is mashma 3 sudas. Learn, don't say minikachim, but nachem kedei mon, it can be purchased for the amount that mon of 3 sudas. My mashma, the high mon lishna the mezainis. Who had no lashon mon is lashon mezainis. Yichsiv vayiman hamelech, that the melech and Uchadeza, he gave Daniel food. So you see vayiman is lashon mezainis. Okay, here's Mayor Usher's better half's wife's question. Mindy Emzel's made it to the tape for posterity's sake. The only woman that's ever been mentioned. Okay? Ihachi, if so, that you're worried about Shemitah, Lulav Nami. Lulav also there's a din of Shemitah by a Lulav. So therefore you should have to worry about that as well. And for the Gemara, Lulav bar shishas hanichlas the shviyasu. When did this lulav grow? In the 6th year. When are you selling it? In the 7th year. So if the chor, it's not subject to the laws of Shemitah. It's a 6th year growth, not a 7th growth. What's the obvious question, guys? Ihachi, esrig nami, an esrig as well. Bash shisha hanichnesat the shviyasi. It should be a 6th going into a 7th. And also should be subject to, not be subject to Shemitah. It should not be subject to Shemitah. And for the Gemara, Esrig Basa Lakika, as they know. Esther goes after the time it is picked. Okay, this is a famous sugya from the beginning of Kiddushin and in Rosh Hashanah. But here's the story. There are different times in the life cycle of a plant, of a tree. The tree first, it blooms, it grows, and then it's picked. So lechora, do you go after its time? It's chanata. Do you go after the time the tree comes into the fruit comes into existence, or do you go into the time that is what it is picked? Now, by vegetables, we're going to see you go after the time it's picked. So, if esrog is treated like a tree, then it's going to be a sixth going to the seventh, like a lulav. However, if it's treated like a yerek, like a vegetable, then you're going to go after what? After it is picked. So even though it grew in the 6th year, if it's picked in the 7th year, it has kedusha shmita. So that's the criteria. Do you go after the way when it grows or when it's picked? If the esrog is like a tree, then it's the same teretz as you gave by a lulav. Not a problem. There's no shmita. We're going after the time is chanata, where it bloomed in the 6th year. If it goes after the time it was picked and the esrog was picked in the 7th year like a vegetable, then you have a problem. The Gemara is going to answer if you go after where it's picked. The Gemara now is going to discuss the machlokes, and the Gemara is going to bring in a Tana that says you go after when it's picked, and that would answer Mindy Amsel's question, that since it's picked in the 7th year, it has a din of Shemitah. Says the Gemara.
Les, I know you want to leave, but what about the next year?
Let's just get shot over here, Meya, in the Gemara.
Okay.
And have a good time in Sesame Street. But Bein Reb Gamliel ubein Rebbe Eliezer le'inyan shvius esrog baruch chanata azlina. That's your kasha. Esrog doesn't go after lakita. Esrog goes after chanata, where it blooms, which is in the 6th year. So you should have no problem. You should have the same teretz as lulav. The Tanya esrog shavel elon begimel derachim. An esrog is equal to an elon, an esrog. An esrog is equal to an elon begimel drachim uliyerik b'derech echad. Shavel elon begimel drachim la'arla. That whichever year it blooms in is considered a year off of the 3 years that you're not allowed to have enough from it, not after it's picked. Ulervia, the 4th year is netter avoy, you're treated like Meiser Sheni. Uleshvius and Shvius. So you see, you go after Chanata. You see, you go after, if so it grew in the 6th year, according to his opinion, it should not be a Shemitah problem. Ulierik b'derech echad, what does that mean? Amin Aleph. Shebeshas likitasai isuroi. Whichever year it's picked in, that's going to be the Maisa year. We know in the Shemitah cycle, the 1st year, 2nd year, 4th year, and 5th year, you have to give, in addition to Maisa Rishon, you have to give Maisa Sheni. In the 3rd year and the 6th year, you have to give Maisa Ani. So whichever year the Yerek is picked in will ascertain whether it's a Maisa Sheni year or a Maisa Ani year. Okay? Divrei Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Esrog shavel elon l'chol davar. Esrog has nothing to do with a vegetable. It's always like an elon. Bottom line is, both Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Eliezer both hold that an esrog goes after chanata. So back to the original question: why is it different than a lulav that it grew in the 6th year, picked in the 7th year? I don't care when it's picked. I care when it grew. The chanata was in the 6th year. You shouldn't have a problem of a shmita problem. And if the Gemara who damakiyai tana, he the Tana of our Mishnah says goes this Tana, who says that an esrog goes after lakita like an esrog. The Tanya, Amar Rabbi Yossi, said Rabbi Yossi, Av Tulmis, the Tana of Tulmis, Eid Mishum Chamisha Zakenim, testified in front of 5 Zakenim, esrog acha lakita lemaisa. The esrogim goes after lakita lemaisa. So whichever year you pick it in, that'll be the Maisa year. If it's the 1st year, 2nd year, 4th year, 5th year, it's Maisa Sheni, 3rd and 6th Maisa Ani. For Rabbi Seinu Nimna B'Usha, and the Chacham, they got together in Usha after the destruction of the Beis Mikdash. They were in Usha. The Amru Bein LaMaiser, an esrog, whether it's L'Inyan ascertaining a Maisa Sheni year or a Maisa Ani year. Bein L'Shvius, whether it's a Shemitah year or a non-Shemitah year. Shvius man kashmai. So imechsa v'achitani. Esrog achal akita l'maisa v'achal chanata l'shvius. An esrog, the Avtoma said that an esrog regarding lakita, it's regarding meiser, it's a vegetable. Regarding a shmita, it's a tree, and you go after the 6th year. Esrog basal lakitan bein l'maisa bein l'shvius. An esrog goes after Lakita, whether it's linear Meiser, deciding whether it's a Meiser Sheni or Meiser on a year, or Shemitah, whether it's a Shemitah or not, you go after Lakita. That's the Tanav Mishnah, and that's the chilik between an esrig and a lulav. A lulav, you go after Chanata, so 6 going to a 7 will make it a non-Shemitah fruit, a non-Shemitah piece of wood. And on the other hand, conversely, a esrig will go after the 7th year, will go after the 7th year and it'll be a Shemitah fruit. Okay? Thank you for listening. Steve, record it and get it out there. And so like this, people will get it. Thanks a million. Thanks for listening.
Esther Bas,
Esther Bas Meima.
Meima.
Esther Bas Meima.